On this episode of Tell Us a Story.
Prosilience is actually proactive plus resilience. So, prosilience, Prosilience, is the idea that if resilience is about how effectively you respond to challenges, then prosilience is about how we deliberately build our strength, how we build our resilience in a proactive way to meet challenges.
Welcome to Tell Us a Story, the podcast by Belmont City Press, where entrepreneurs and sales professionals share their journeys, insights, and strategies for success. In each episode, our guests reveal how they've overcome challenges, established their brands, and leveraged their stories to promote their businesses so you can too. I'm Red Hilton, your host for this episode. Today I'm joined by Jenn Fredericks, who is the owner and founder of Jenn Fredericks Prosilience Coach. So, Jenn, tell us a story.
Well, at Jenn Fredericks Prosilience Coach, we help organizations that support caregivers and patients navigate the complexities of chronic illness with the specific purpose of achieving better patient outcomes by filling the gaps that exist in providing support and education to their caregiver community. So our ideal client is a health system, nonprofit, or foundation wanting to provide heart-centered whole person care and is looking to support caregivers with innovative solutions for emotional respite, peer support, and sustainable skill-building education so they may ultimately have better patient outcomes. So you can discover more information about us at our website, ProsilienceCoach.com, and we can be easily reached at our Contact Us page on our website. Reach out so that we can begin to build proactive resilience for those you serve.
That is such important work. Can you sort of take us on our journey of how you got to where you are with Prosilience Coach?
It's quite a journey. Yes, I will. So I am on my fourth kidney. I'm actually a 2-time kidney transplant recipient, and I've been navigating my own chronic illness journey for 3 decades. And then I'm also guiding my daughter through her life-threatening chronic illness with a brain tumor and treatment for the past 8 years. About a year after her diagnosis, I realized I wasn't quite as good managing a medical crisis of a loved one as I was at managing my own. I was suffering from anxiety, and it started to manifest physically. I dropped under 100 pounds. I couldn't eat without feeling sick. I could barely sleep. I hit bottom, and I realized I couldn't do life that way anymore and be all I wanted to be for myself and my family. So I started looking into all the ways I could support myself.
Well, I mean, it is quite the story. So talk to us about Prosilience Coach. What is it? Also spell Prosilience for those who are listening, if you can.
Sure. Prosilience is actually proactive plus resilience. So prosilience, Prosilience, is the idea that if resilience is about how effectively you respond to challenges, then prosilience is about how we deliberately build our strength, how we build our resilience in a proactive way to meet challenges.
Okay. So with Prosilience Coach, kind of talk us through, what it is that you do and what is the sort of unique way that you help, organizations and support caregivers.
Sure. Well, so following 7 years of general personal and professional coaching, I'm now focusing on my passion and purpose of guiding chronic illness patients and their family caregivers from that fear and depletion and uncertainty and burnout that you experience with caregiving and chronic illness to living with more confidence and calm, contentment by building their prosilience or their proactive resilience.
So talk us through, give us a real world example of what it is that you do and sort of, if you are, helping organizations, who is your point of contact or who is, describe for me sort of the type of person that might reach out to you.
Sure. So I've been doing work with a lot of nonprofits or foundations who support family caregivers. And they are organizations that want to provide some emotional respite for the caregivers, provide some education and training that support the caregivers. And they're organizations that may not have that specific expertise in their wheelhouse right now, and even the time to spend with the caregivers. So they bring me in to help start to develop those skills with the caregivers. One thing I like to share with caregivers is that we're all resilient. We are all born with resilience muscles, which is part of the Prosilience framework. However, if we do not have our human energy to fuel our prosilience, we can't be resilient. We can be as strong as we want to, but if we don't have the fuel, we're out of gas. So I really go in and start talking about what it means to manage your personal human energy, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, so that you can be filled. That old saying, fill your own cup first. Okay, well, let's talk about filling your human energy first. So I truly believe, and this is the message I'm sharing, is that the evolution of caregiver self-care is moving from that idea of, just take some time and go get a massage, or take some time and walk around the block. Yes, those are important, but the evolution of caregiver self-care really equals energy management skills.
Okay, talk to us more about what that is, because I maybe clearly define what you believe self-care is, because I feel like the things you touched on is sort of what the picture is in my head, but that you go beyond that.
Right. I mean, it's very important for us to take those moments of respite that offer us relaxation and some calm and some time to ourselves. And I really believe it's important for us to build something that we can carry with us every day that is a sustainable way of self-care. So traditionally, I think we think of self-care as scheduling a massage or taking time to read a book. And all of those things are important and can be part of our self-care. But let's take a look at the 4 parts of human energy that actually can provide us the fuel to keep going. So I would say getting a mani-pedi, getting a massage, those are parts of maybe the physical energy that we can build within ourselves. But then let's take a look at our mental energy, our emotional energy, and our spiritual energy. So mental energy is really how we can think clearly and quickly and calmly in challenging situations. So let's spend some time really looking at learning to focus. Let's look at our emotional energy. How can we work with the difficult feelings that we might have come up as a caregiver or a patient? Let's learn some emotional intelligence if we don't have enough in our storehouse already. And then that spiritual energy piece is being able to connect with a sense of meaning and purpose outside of ourselves. For some, that might be religion. For some, that might be a cause that's dear to their heart. For some, that might be merely, I say, but taking care of that loved one so that they feel cared for and loved and heard and seen and valued. And when we can take a look at those 4 human energies, we can access what we need to in order to meet challenges in a way that doesn't make us fall down and then have to pick ourselves back up.
So you mentioned mental, emotional, spiritual, and is the other one physical?
Physical, yep.
Okay. And do you feel like there's a hierarchy, or it's whatever somebody needs?
They are all interconnected. And, let's be gentle with ourselves and realize at some point we might have a lot of physical energy available to us, but our spiritual energy might be lacking. So I invite people to take a look at where that spiritual energy might have a leak in it. And let's find a way to plug that leak and then slowly refill it. Another day, it might be that your physical energy is completely kaput and all you can do is stay in bed. And at that point, you'll also find that it might be very difficult to manage your emotions or to really think clearly and have some of that brain fog, which is related to the mental energy.
So you had said earlier that you've been through your own health journey, and then you found you were going through a health journey with your daughter. Yeah. Can you just sort of speak on the juxtaposition with that and what you experienced taking care of yourself versus taking care of your daughter?
Sure. Well, I think I was kind of primed to have an easier go at it for myself because I was 15 when I was diagnosed. So I had this feeling of immortality and yes, fix me. Let's just get on with life. And that sort of set the tone, I think, for the rest of my managing my chronic illness. It's a challenge comes up, I meet it, I decide what the next easy step is, and I move forward. Um, yes, there was some emotion tied into it, but when you start looking at taking care of a loved one with a life-threatening chronic illness, and it being my daughter, it was my heart walking outside of my body that's suffering. And all you want to do is take that suffering from that person, and you can't. So I think that was really the difference. There was much more of an emotional toll that came with the diagnosis that my daughter experienced. And so then beyond having to take care of all of the physical things, understanding all of the protocols and treatments that she needed to go through immediately to help her stay alive. But then a year after is when we both, all the family, started going through the mental and emotional processing of everything that happened. And that's what took me to my knees.
Is well after the beginning.
Yeah.
So I think I just want to ask, how are you now and how is your daughter now?
Really, we're doing really well. I really couldn't ask for more. There are days that are difficult. She's managing some chronic pain. She still goes for MRIs every 3 months. She's still on treatment, but she's, in high school now and being able to enjoy more of the things that a teen is allowed to enjoy. My health is really great. I am fueling my spiritual energy on the daily because I get to work with others and help them find their way to prosilience and sustainable care as they're managing these difficulties that come up as well. So I just really appreciate being alive. I mean, I'm on my second kidney transplant, so I think that really gives me another viewpoint of how much life is precious. And I want to live every minute that I can. And I want to help my daughter and others live every minute.
I would think your experience gives you a very unique position when educating people about caregiver self-care.
Yes, we always feel, I'm talking about myself, but I'm going to put it in the we, that you need a certain educational training, you need a certain certification, and all of those things are important so that you feel well prepared to help others. Yet I find myself more and more reaching into my bag of lived experience and wisdom that's come from 3 decades of living with chronic illness and 3 decades of choosing my perspective on life and how I want to live it. And that is, I think, one of the most important things.
And I can imagine that people who are walking through difficulties, either as a caregiver or as a patient, sees your victory, if we can say, and that also gives them hope, I would suspect.
Yes, I agree totally. And I was very lucky to meet a CEO of a children's hospital recently. And I was able to share my story. And the feedback I got was that this is such important work, that this is needed for caregivers and patients, the resilience piece, and even more so, that lived knowledge and the unique perspective that I can bring, being on both sides of the bed, as the patient, as the caregiver, as a trained practitioner in building resilience. And that just meant the world to me that was recognized.
That's fabulous. Talk to me about your website. What are people going to find there?
Sure. Well, on my website, prosiliencecoach.com.
And we'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Thank you. You will find my story, a little bit more of my story, how I help individuals, and my wish to help organizations. And I do that. Individuals can schedule a Caregiver Connect chat with me, so we can just sit down and find a space to share a little bit, so you can find that you're not alone in this journey. You will also find a resource to help you start looking at your evolution of caregiver self-care through energy management skills. And organizations can also find a link to some of the past workshops that I've provided, as well as some of the keynote speeches that I've been able to offer to organizations and foundations.
And who is your point of contact usually in organizations? Who is it that if someone has, if not them, they know someone in an organization? Who is it you're looking for to connect with?
Sure. Well, with some of the smaller foundations or nonprofits, I usually work directly with like the vice president or the president of those organizations. Also, any of the event planners, or if you're hosting a conference where you're going to be speaking to caregivers or patients, it would be those event planners that can reach out directly to me. I would love to get in contact with any of the health systems, behavioral or mental wellness departments, and share how resilience and this way of building your prosilience could help their patients, in addition to all of the other resources they have available through social workers and psychologists and all of those resources.
I would think that this would apply across all platforms, regardless of what an illness or challenge somebody is facing.
Definitely. I mean, I have a very intimate knowledge of kidney disease. So I have worked with the National Kidney Foundation in my state of Wisconsin, as well as Children's Brain Tumor Foundation. So those pediatric cancer organizations. This is also work that can be done in any organization where you have family caregivers that are caring for people at home and then coming into work the next day. It's important to help them fill their energy resources as well, so they can give their best to their family and they can give their best to your company.
Sure. What's a common misconception that people have about what you do?
It would be around, I think, the resilience piece, and that you're either born with it or you aren't. So you either have resilience or you don't. And that isn't true. We are all born with resilience, and prosilience is the idea of strengthening that resilience that we all have within us. And we can actually put together an action plan to help you build that so that you can access your resilience regardless of the challenge that comes your way, whether it's sort of one of those deficit feeling challenges or one of those exciting ones like looking for a new promotion or moving or those other big life decisions.
I see. So talk to me about caregiver self-care. How did you sort of form your Prosilience Coach? Like sort of what did you draw on from your experiences that you sort of relay to others?
Sure. People always ask me, how are you so resilient? And I didn't know. I just kind of thought this is how life was. This is normal for me. So as I was doing professional and personal development coaching, I did start to research resilience and compassion fatigue and compassion resilience. And I ran across the wonderful work by an industrial and organizational psychologist. So this is evidence-based work. And she has developed the framework of prosilience. And as I read her book, it was like she had been following me around since I was 15 years old. And I was actually very honored as I went through her Personal Resilience Practitioner training when she said that I embody prosilience. And that's what I can offer people, is I live and breathe this every day, and I can help you bring it into your life so that you can live with more ease and more contentment and, dare I say, joy, even as challenges come our way.
I think oftentimes people focus on the challenge as opposed to, getting beyond that.
That is true. And actually, one of the building blocks of resilience or prosilience is choosing your strategy. Choosing your strategy to meet that challenge. You can reframe it, you can change it, or you can accept and adapt. And once you can kind of put that line in the sand, it gives you more opportunity and options to move through the challenge rather than getting stuck in it.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes when people get stuck in it, they don't see, any positive outcome. And that sort of then lends itself to everything else taking over, the physical, the mental, the spiritual, the emotional, everything deteriorates from that.
Definitely. And I want to completely normalize that as part of the human experience. And we don't have to experience it that way. Even in those instances where we don't feel like we have a choice in the matter, we do have great choice. And that's one perspective I like to help people see.
Well, reframing is something that everybody can do in any situation where they're not experiencing it the way they want to.
Definitely.
And I'm not
Definitely.
a toxic positivity type of gal. And that's not, and I don't think that's what you're saying either.
No.
But you really can just sort of reframe how you're receiving information and how you put it back out, into the world
Yeah.
in order to get you to where you want it and need to be.
Yeah, here's an easy reframe. So if something is going on in your life and normally we're like, oh, why is this happening to me? If you can find it in yourself to ask also, how is this happening for me? It might be able to help you reframe and find a different perspective with which to meet the challenge.
Absolutely. It's not always happening to you. It's happening, with your experience or to, maybe even teach you a lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it may not be evident right away. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we just need to pause, take a beat, and then reflect back.
Absolutely. I mean, look at a year after your daughter's diagnosis, you sort of had that, moment of reflection, and it was a year later.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm. Jenn, what is your Monty? So as you know, Monty is our little mascot here at Belmont City Press, and he's sort of that beacon of inspiration or hope or a lesson learned or maybe a little mantra that we carry with us. So what is your Monty?
My Monty is this pair of crystal hands that are held together like you're holding something in the palm of your hands. And it's a reminder to live the and the both rather than the either or. So I like to ask people that I work with, how can we hold the joy and the suffering at the same time? Because that is the human condition.
So one more time, it's live the and the both at the same time?
Correct.
Interesting. And you have a little pair of crystal hands.
I do. I have a little pair of crystal hands that I'm holding right now. Yeah.
Were those made for you? Or they out in the
They
world?
weren't. I found it at a crystal shop. And I just love it so much. It sits on my desk all the time.
Fabulous. So are you ready for our rapid fire session?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to give you two choices and you tell me which one speaks to you the most. And then I'll let you know if you're right or wrong based on what I like and don't like.
Okay.
That's how this goes. All right. Would you prefer to paint or draw something?
Paint.
Yes, I think painting as well, although neither would be good coming from me. So
I agree. Yeah. But at least painting, you can be a little more abstract with your interpretation.
Exactly. And you can make a big mess, and that's fun as well. Are you Facebook or Instagram? What camp are you in?
Oh man, Facebook, but I have it connected to Instagram.
Yeah,
so
that's the only reason I'm on Instagram is because it's connected.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not learning another platform. Would you prefer breakfast or dinner? If you could pick a meal.
Dinner.
Really?
Oh,
You're not a breakfast? Like, what about brunch?
And I don't like breakfast in bed either.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
No.
Crumbs. Hello. Absolutely not.
That's gross.
So dinner, huh? And not even like a brunch? You'd rather go to like a Sunday dinner than a Sunday brunch?
Yeah, I really would, because that also means then I don't have to cook dinner.
Well, yeah. Well, if you need enough at brunch, you just need a snack and you go to bed.
That's true.
Maybe it's my efficiency issues. Like brunch is like breakfast and lunch. So you just can't conquer two things at once.
That's pretty amazing. Thank you for that reframe.
I do have efficiency issues in everything I do. Usually if I choose something, it's because of a reason. Let's see. Roller coaster or Ferris wheel?
Ferris wheel if I had to do one or the other.
Right? I'm not doing either if I don't have to, but I honestly feel roller coaster.
Really?
Yes. And no, I can't get on a Ferris wheel. I absolutely cannot. No, but I've been on roller coasters. I have not been on a Ferris wheel because it moves too slow and there's too much time. At least with the roller coaster, I feel like it's over faster and I can just hold on and just pray for it to be over.
I understand that.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Let's see. Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Really? I'm more savory. I do believe. Yeah. Winter or summer? You're in Wisconsin, so do you have?
I am. I mean, summer at the lake.
Summer at the lake. Okay. All right. That's a different vibe than winter at the lake. If you're at the movies, popcorn or candy? Can't say both.
Can I say something different?
What are you getting? A Slurpee? What are you getting?
Nachos.
Oh, yeah. Well, those are just standard every day, all day. Like that
Okay,
could
yeah,
be
yeah.
breakfast, lunch, dinner.
I
But if
mean,
you like, I only go to the movies to have popcorn.
I do love popcorn, and we do have our own popcorn maker at our
Mm.
house.
Very
So yeah,
important. Yeah. So
very.
popcorn is very, very important. It's like a food, a legit like meal.
Yes.
Let's see, steak or seafood. I don't eat either, but I'm always curious.
Steak.
Okay. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
I won't dry heave and start talking about why.
I would say steak with a compound butter on top.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. A comedy or a thriller?
Comedy.
Yes, I can't do thrillers. I won't sleep for
Nope.
months. Yeah. And then everyone's a suspect in my life of everything. Let's see, card game or board game?
Board game.
Okay. All right.
When
I'll
people
allow
try
it.
to teach me card games, my brain just goes like, ugh, I can't.
I like card games. I will play a board game, but I will not play the game of life. It makes me violent. I barely can make it through Monopoly because that's too much drama and everything else. But the game of life, like you're going along, you're responsible, you do everything you're supposed to, and then you hit a square, and all of a sudden your job's, changes, and you have 6 more kids and half as much. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I get violent. Nobody likes to play board games with me. And the classic chocolate or vanilla.
Of what? Ice cream?
Whatever you would like to choose. There's only one right answer here, Jen. So
chocolate.
Thank you.
How did I know?
Yeah. Well,
there was no leading the witness there.
Well, here's the whole thing. I always tell the story. When I was younger, my sister got an ice cream making machine. She made vanilla. I ate it. I was near death. I was so ill. I have no idea if it was the ice cream, but I just associate it. So now I cannot eat vanilla ice cream. So when someone says chocolate or vanilla, I have to go chocolate.
I get that.
All right. Our guest to guest question. I have a question for you that was left over from the guest before you. So are you ready for your guest to guest question?
I am.
All right. Your question is, tell us about a time that you felt most connected to your authentic self.
Oh my goodness. So I had just started doing coaching certification. And so was really getting drawn back to myself and discovering my inner truth, my inner compass, if you will. And I went to a wedding of acquaintances. They weren't even really great friends, but it was a wedding. And I was just out on the dance floor, just dancing my heart out, not caring. Normally in a wedding, you're kind of in a circle maybe, and you're a little self-conscious and you're trying to do all of the cool moves or whatever. But it was
the dress and heels that ruins it.
Well, the heels were off that night.
Oh, wow.
And it was me twirling to whatever music was on. It was just such an exhilarating release.
Nice. When my sister got married, everybody, like, once we were through the ceremony, she's like, all right, like, go put on your, your pants and your, I'm sitting there in like a tracksuit and some sneakers, like dancing and everything. It's just like, why are we going to be uncomfortable? Like, I was like, right. Right. So, well, good for you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, one more time, website, where do people find you? How do they connect? Anything else that you want us to know about Jenn Fredericks, Persilience Coach?
Sure. Well, if you are a caregiver and you could use some help with your self-care, visit prosilienccoach.com/care for caregivers for my free resource to build your caregiver energy and to support your resilience. If you're an organization that wants to learn more about the evolution of caregiver self-care, visit prosilienccoach.com/contact and just reach out and we can start seeing how I can support your organization and your community of caregivers.
And you're on Facebook, which connects to Instagram. We learned that today. What is your Facebook?
My Facebook is, Jenn Fredericks,
Persilience Coach.
Yeah, Jenn Fredericks, Persilience Coach. I'm also on LinkedIn at Jenn Fredericks.
Okay. All right. And people can look for notes or links in the show notes. If I were to give you 60 seconds to tell us a story, what would the world learn from you?
You guys, this isn't a dress rehearsal. We have one go at this life. I believe you don't have to wait until things are all better to live better. So let's find your way, despite the circumstances, to live with more ease and joy. Because this is the one go around we have.
One time around the sun.
Yep.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time. It's extremely valuable, and I hope I honored that here today.
You certainly did. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. To our listeners, if you have a story to share, visit tellasastorypodcast.com. If you're an aspiring author, a seasoned business owner, or looking to elevate your personal brand, visit belmontcitypress.com for expert advice on writing your own success story. Trust the next chapter because you are the author. Now, tell us a story.